In this video, we're looking at the types of graphs. So we're going to go through a range of different graphs and just talk about them and answer some questions around them. So the first type of graph we're looking at is a picture graph. So this graph is used to show data when things can be counted. So on your screen, we have a graph here, a picture graph that shows the number of crates leaving a factory at different times during a day. It's important to note that these usually come with a key, which you can see here, that tells you what each picture is worth. So in this case, each box is worth actually 10 boxes. So between 9 AM and 12 PM, you can see there's two pictures there of these boxes. So altogether, 20 boxes are leaving the factory in this time slot. In the next, we have 3, so we have 30 boxes leaving. Because we have 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and down here we have 10, and then we have half a box, so 5. So down here we have 15 boxes leaving between 3 PM and 6 PM. So it's important to note what each box or picture that they give you represents, and then to use that to answer any questions that you are given. The next one we're looking at is a column graph. It's one of the most common ones. This type of graph is mostly used for data that are in categories. In this case, we're looking at hair color, and we're looking at red, brown, blonde, and black. And we're obviously looking in a classroom because it says number of students. So if you have a look on the red column over here, red, to find out how many students had red, you go up until you hit where that is and read across. So we're saying that there's 2 students with red. We do the same for brown, you go all the way up here, 12. Same with blonde, 4, and then finally black. It's halfway between 10 and 8, so 9. Alright, so very commonly used graph. Sometimes you can get clusters where they have multiple column graphs based on year, for example, and it'll have something like this. And that could be 2001, for example. Then over here we'll have 2002, and it's showing you the change in these graphs over time and whatever these 3 different categories are. So that's called a clustered column graph. The next thing we're looking at is a divided bar graph, and as you can see, it's a massive rectangle and it's broken up into proportions. So you can see down here in this column, this little section here, the 200 kilometers or more, that's very small compared to our 5 kilometers or less, which is quite large. A lot of these type of questions about, well, what do you think the proportion is of people who had an accident between 5 kilometers or less, and you would have to give a fraction or some sort of a percentage of that. And it is okay to make an estimate. You could use a ruler to get an accurate distance. So for example, if I went like this and roughly, if I line it up, you could count the centimeters across there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, roughly 17 centimeters, for example. And then what you would do is you'd go, well, how many centimeters were my 5 kilometers or less? Roughly 8. So if I was to say what my fraction for 5 kilometers or less is, it'd be 8 over 17. Alright, because 8 centimeters for the 5 kilometers or less, and 17 for the total rectangle. Now with these type of questions actually as well, remember, if you're trying to convert a fraction, so let's say our 8 over 17, we want the 5 kilometers or less as a percentage. We multiply that by 100. Remember? So again, if you have a fraction and you want to convert it to a percentage, you multiply it by 100. And that comes out at 47%. Now if I go down here to the next type of graph, a line graph, this is another really common one you'll see, and it's usually showing data over time. So as you can see on the bottom there, you have years with 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, and we're showing you the profit that a software and some games are making as we go through the years. And how you would interpret it is, you would look at the top, let's say we're looking at the orange line, you would say generally it's going in an upwards direction, except in 2018 where we had a bottom down for some reason. and you can read each individual one. For example, let's say I'm trying to read in 2014, I wanted to find the profit of games, so I go up, and then I read across, and it's roughly $2,000, that point there.